Hey folks, welcome back to a video on health and mental health with Sarge. So, we talked about this before, but when you are doing a car video, always start the video before you leave your place of origin. Do not stop it until you get to your destination. Don't fiddle with your phone while you're driving. And if you live in certain states in the United States, you may not be able to do this at all. All right, on to the topic of today. Actually, folks, what I wanted to talk to you about today was the concept of the watcher, right? So what is the watcher? Well, to think about it in terms of if you know a little bit about AA, it's kind of similar to a sponsor, right? So the sponsor in AA is somebody that is chosen to kind of check in with that person, right? See how they're doing. And sometimes maybe in the beginning it's a daily thing. As time goes on, maybe it's not. In the military, there's a concept called the battle buddy. And the battle buddy is somebody who's kind of got your back and is always checking in on you, checking on your mental health, your status, and just, hey buddy, are you okay? And kind of making that person talk when, not making them, but just not letting a person start to fall apart, not letting them. It's the person who's just kind of watching out for you. That's the concept of it, right? So that's the watcher. What I'm going to do today is challenge some of you. So I know a lot of you out there who are watching this have posted things on your social media about, just, man, I cannot get out of this place where I'm at right now. Okay. All right. There we go. Finally caught a break in the traffic. All right. So some of you have posted stuff on your social media about the suicide hotline, and that is an amazing thing to do. I'm really proud of you all for doing that. And as you know, at the end of my videos, I often put the suicide hotline as well, and I will continue to do that. The concept of being somebody's watcher actually takes it a step further than that. So if you are in a good place mentally and you are willing to take on this responsibility, what you would do is, you know who among your friends, who among your family is struggling. And so by being their watcher, what you're doing is you're kind of keeping an eye on them, whether, maybe it's at work, you notice that their behavior is a little bit off, their baseline, their personality is a little bit off, they're isolating, maybe a little bit more irritable. Maybe on social media, you notice that your friends are posting depressive song lyrics, things like that, or they're not wanting to go out anymore when you say, hey, let's go out and get something to eat. So as the watcher, your responsibility is to just check in with that person. Hey, I noticed that you posted some song lyrics. Is everything okay? I noticed coworker, I noticed that you haven't come out of your office all day today. Is everything okay? Can I get you a cup of coffee? You want to go outside, walk around the building a little bit, talk, right? The idea here is that you're just letting that person know you got their back, you're keeping an eye on them. And what this can do is, they may push you away, right? Don't be surprised if a person pushes you away or minimizes it, because some people don't, they don't want to, when they're feeling that way, they don't want to they feel like they're dragging other people into that. And that's just, it's not necessarily true. It's a cognitive distortion, but that's their belief. I don't want to pull somebody down into this depression that I've got going on. And let's just talk about it from a depression standpoint today, because, just kind of keep it on track for one type of mental health issue. You're going to check in with them. They may push you away, but that's okay. You're planting a seed, and that seed says, hey, I got your back. I'm here for you. I'm not going away. You can, if you don't want to talk right now, that's okay. But I just want to let you know I'm around. I want to let you know I'm here, when you're ready to talk. And don't be surprised if later on they do come back to you as they start to feel like, okay, this person's reaching out to me. This person's got my back. They are trying to help. So it may start to open up, right? That's kind of what you're looking for. Another reason why you might get pushed away is they're not used to somebody really being there for them. So maybe through their life experiences, people have not been. People have disappointed them. People have let them down. So they may push you away to test if you're legit or not, right? So as the watcher, you can be that person that's kind of planting that seed that says, hey, I do I am there for you. I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to be around. And, I'm not going to let you just push me away. You don't have to be a stalker. You don't have to be super pushy about it. You're just letting them know that you got their back, and they can't, they're not walking through whatever they're walking through alone. Okay. I've had many, many people, many patients in therapy tell me that when they were in a really dark, deep depression, they had one person who was checking in on them, one friend who stuck it out with them, right? Who had the patience to bear with them through their mental illness, or maybe it was an addiction or whatever. And that was the difference for them between suicide and not. Okay? So this is one step further that you can take it beyond just posting that suicide hotline. And just to be perfectly clear, I am not downplaying the importance of that. I think it's fantastic that people are doing that. But if you're in a good place with your mental health and you feel like you can do this for other people, this is one extra step you can do. Take it just a little bit further if you want to help somebody out, okay? If they are starting to talk to you, right? So now maybe all you can do is just kind of listen. But that's okay. Be there with them, listen to them, validate. If they get to a point where they're legitimately in danger, like they're giving you all the warning flags, they're, giving away stuff that's important to them, they're not willing to contract for safety, right? They're not willing to promise you that they're not going to not hurt themselves. And maybe they meet certain other risk factors, like they're a substance abuser. Maybe they're gathering pills or something like that, right? Some warning flags. And if they're not willing to get help voluntarily, right? Like if they're not willing to go to therapy or check themselves into a hospital if it's that bad, right? They might need to do something like that. If you're taking on this responsibility, keep in mind you may have to pursue involuntary hospitalization, which is a really hard thing to do. So this is a big responsibility, but you definitely can save a life, right? I have many times. Of course, I'm a therapist, so I'm more exposed to this than the average person. But you don't have to be a therapist to take on this role and be helpful to somebody. If you had to get somebody hospitalized involuntarily, that's going to differ from state to state. How you go about that. So you may need to call if it's that bad, you may need to call your state suicide hotline and explain the situation, or you may need to call, if it's during the daytime hours, you may need to call the mental health center in your community and explain what's going on, and explain that this person, you're afraid that they're going to hurt themselves and they're not willing to go in voluntarily to get help, and you think that there's an immediate danger, right? Those are some of the key characteristics that people would need to be looking at if you're talking about involuntary hospitalization. Generally speaking, if you can get a person to do it voluntarily, to go in for help voluntarily, it's a better process, but sometimes that's just not an option. All right, let's get away from the hospitalization thing, because that's not always the case. You don't always have to get somebody hospitalized. A lot of times you just need to be a good listener and try to get them engaged in the activities that they need to do to recharge their brain, right? So when you're in a deep depression, it kind of feels like, you got the flu, and your therapist or your best friend or whoever is saying to you, hey, just get up and run a 5K. If you did these things, you're going to feel better, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe, but I got the flu, right? So what you're going to have to do is help them understand that this is going to be, sometimes just getting out of bed and starting the day and doing a few things is going to be the hardest part of this. But if they can get moving and get up, take a shower, eat something, start talking to somebody, do 20 minutes of prayer or meditation, go outside, breathe some fresh air, go for a walk around their neighborhood, play with their pet, talk to their children, do some art, draw, poetry, right? These things are why we are always, as your therapists, why we're always talking about these things, is these are the activities that are natural, healthy ways to kickstart the dopamine in the brain, right? So we have to, when you're in a deep depression, it's almost like, to use a metaphor, your battery in your car has gone dead and you need a jump start to kickstart it, right? So we have to start doing some of these things, and sometimes medication is needed too. So that's where they're going to have to talk to their doctor and see if that's an option for them or not. And I'm not trying to say that medication is always necessary. There are times when a person can do this the natural way, and there's times where maybe the natural way is not going to be enough. There's other options too, and there's newer treatments which I can't really go into because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse practitioner, I'm a therapist. But I know that there's, and I can't go into this too much, there are newer things available within the field that can be prescribed by your doctor other than medications. And there's some older stuff that actually works really good too, like ECT for extreme depression that can kind of jumpstart the brain too. A lot of people hear that and they think of the negative connotations or these negative imagery from Hollywood of what ECT they think it is. It's not like that at all. There's other options that they would need to talk to their doctor about. As the watcher, the next step beyond doing like these wellness skills, the things I was talking to you about, the exercise, the meditation, the talking to somebody, the petting your dog or your cat, the playing with your children, the going outside, reading art, all this stuff. That's your wellness skills, eating healthy foods, drinking enough water. Beyond that, it starts to get into the cognitive skills, which is more complex. And if you get the chance to take a class called Mental Health First Aid, you can learn some of this stuff. If if you've ever taken Psychology 101 or Counseling 101, basically what we're talking about here is listening, validating. Validating is like, certain things you can do with your speech to reflect to the person that you hear them, you understand, and you empathize. I can't teach you that through a 15-minute YouTube video. It's a little bit more complex, but you can take some classes to learn how to do that. And Mental Health First Aid is one that comes to mind. A lot of times this is offered free in communities through your church or through first responders, things like that. So just kind of keep an eye out or do a Google search if Mental Health First Aid is offered in your community and where can you take that. Simple reflections when you're listening to your friend. Just, hearing what they say and reflect it back to them, right? And then you start getting into stuff like teaching them how to change those cognitive distortions, right? So an example of a cognitive distortion might be talking to somebody does nothing. I'm always going to feel depressed. Nothing I can do is ever going to make me feel better, right? They're all examples of cognitive distortions. Teaching them that alone is changing the way that the brain chemicals are working. That alone is changing the way that their neurotransmitters and synapses are working in their brain and is contributing to the depression. So we actually have to, when you're in a deep depression, you have to learn how to change your thoughts, okay? This is really complex stuff. Normally this is stuff you would do in therapy, but you can, as a friend, if you're the first person that they're talking to about this, if you're the first person they're talking to about this, you can get the process started. And then if you know that somebody's really dealing with depression, you may, start to kind of point them in that direction and then say, hey, listen, this is not the blues that you're dealing with. This is not just sadness. It sounds to me like you're depressed. And as your friend, I really want you to connect with somebody that can help you with this. You can even offer to go to that first session with them, okay? And that can help take some of the anxiety and fear away from what it's like to go in to talk to a therapist, a stranger, for the first time about what's going on for them. All right, I'm going to leave it off here. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is another episode or another video on health and mental health with Sarge. I always appreciate you tuning in, and if you're not working in the field, thank you for being a helper out there. If you're out there and you're struggling with your own mental health issues, please connect with people, get the help that you need. If you're still watching this, please smash that like button, please subscribe. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day out there.